Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from. This is the Worship Leaders Forum show, and with me here, I have three amazing guests who are just going to introduce themselves in a few minutes. So, are you a worship minister or are you around the worship ministry? Have a seat because we are going to have a conversation with you right about now. So today we are going to really tackle the problems that are facing the worship ministry at large, and we shall do the do's and don'ts. Everything shall be listed here. I'll be your host today. My name's Anne Mwende, and right about now, the lady is going to start us off. Kindly introduce yourself.
My name is Nancy Jacob, Redeemed Gospel Church, Imara Daima. I am a minister in the choir and in the intercessory department. Welcome.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. After her, we are going to have director. You can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Louis Derrick from Destiny Life Church, Sokimau. Thank you.
Thank you, director. And last one, please.
Hello, my name is Maurice Chalo. I'm a music director, a vocal coach, and also a worship minister. I serve at River from the Temple Ministries in Kayole Junction. Thank you so much for hosting us.
You're welcome, you're welcome. So as you've heard, all of them are in the worship ministry in one way or another. So we definitely have the right people to do this with us. So just for starters, what do you understand by worship ministry in general?
Worship ministry is a very wide area in general.
Yeah.
It includes music. It includes even services.
Yeah.
So it's a wide range of activities that happen in a church.
Yeah.
For us to be included in a worship service, most at times we are serving in that ministry, and we all know that the worship ministry is a ministry that we are giving it direct to God.
Yeah.
So it includes and encompasses a lot of singing, a lot of even giving is a worship service. So there's a lot to do with the worship ministry.
Okay.
Yes.
Madam Nancy, what do you understand by worship ministry?
Worship ministry is a relationship between man and God.
Yeah.
It is what we do to appreciate the lives that God has given us. So whatever we do, whatever act we do,
Yeah.
in or outside the church, that is pleasing in the eyes of God, it's our worship.
Thank you. And director?
Yes, just the way they have said, maybe in addition, worship ministry, it's to me, I call it a service
Yeah.
to God and not to man, because the Bible says that we have been created to worship Him. And so when we are in the worship ministry, it's worship ministry. So we are just ministering to God, or we are serving God. And simply put, we are ministering to God.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So so what we've heard so far, it is just service and ministering unto God. And the thing that I want us to have, in the Kenyan churches, we have had a chance, to all of us minister here. I want us now to go deep down as we are doing this service, as we are doing this ministering unto God. What are some of the problems that we tend to face?
From my own view, there's a lot of challenges or problems that worship ministers are facing. Maybe I'd mention a few as we catch up on.
Okay.
Some churches don't really understand what worship ministry entails, what it requires.
Yeah.
So most churches think that the worship ministry is only singing. And when there's no singing in church, that day people did not worship. So you find that the requirement of the worship ministry in most churches is the musicality of the service. Yes, so I'd really settle for that for now, is I also give my friends time, because there's a lot about the challenges, because they also the worshiper can also be challenged. The people being led into the worship session can also be challenged.
Okay.
So I'd also give my friends time to give their mind about the same.
Yeah. Director,
Yes.
give us some of the problems that worship ministry faces.
Okay. I think I have a few,
Uh-huh.
but I can categorize them into one and say we lack patience.
Yeah.
Let me put it that patience in terms spiritual patience and also physical patience. And that's why you find ourselves rushing so fast to try and assume that if I produce a song, if I go sing, if I get a position in this church, my life will be okay. But you fail to realize the minute you come into the worship ministry, it's war you are declaring against another kingdom, because you are standing at the front line to defend God. And so once you come in and then keep manie, what happens is we get discouraged and then we walk away. Or we now be we call it freelancing in the worship ministry. So we start moving from one church to another, hoping and trusting that probably the grass is greener on the other side. But the problem is not this church or the other church. The problem is we are not patient enough to settle in one place. One thing I know about the ministry of worship and what he has just said, it's not just about singing, because worship is not music. And so what happens is, unless God has ordered you to move, you stay until he commands you to move, because he's the one who orders where you go, what you do, and how you do it, because it's not about you, it's about him. So when we lack patience, we end up trying to fix God or try to help God help us. Yet he's the one who has called us, and he knows exactly what is required of us. He can easily direct us to where we want. He knows what we want, when we want, and how we want it. All he wants is let us worship him where he has commanded us to be, or how he has commanded us to be. So I can say lack of patience has caused us to really end up actually even missing the line, going astray. So we start following material things, we start following gains. You know, we just wake up and say, hi, subscribe to my YouTube channel. So we think the more followers we have, the more tutakuwa make it. But really, to me, for a status, I can say that is a problem.
All right. I hope you're taking notes. So number one, worship is not just about singing. And number two, a lack of patience. Most of us, I think many ministers have turned into church hoppers. You know, you're hopping from one church to another. You're not settling. You have to like settle down and just do what God called you. Yeah, Madam Nancy, what are some of the problems in the worship ministry?
I think one of the greatest problem I have seen in the worship ministry is people getting into the ministry without the knowledge of what they are doing and what they are supposed to do and who they are. Another thing that I have seen causing a great problem in the worship ministry is the way we live. Because our lifestyle has a very great impact on our worship life. There's a time we were being taught in the music academy that your lifestyle helps so much in lighting the fire on the altar. So our lifestyle matters a lot. If we don't live right, definitely our worship life is going to be affected. So I think the greatest problem we have is people getting into the ministry without understanding of who they are and what they are supposed to be doing as a worship minister.
Okay. So your lifestyle, how you live outside church, definitely denotes how you're going even to serve while you're in church. So we have patience and we have how you live outside church. And I want us to now, break it down. You have entered as a worship minister in this ministry. You didn't have the knowledge before of what you're supposed to do, and you come in, things are just not going how you think they were supposed to go. You have entered the church, you had your own expectations, maybe things just are happening up and down. How do you go about it?
I think from what my friends have said, there's one basic thing that we neglect when it comes to the worship ministry. From the points they have given, it is really evident that the worship ministry encompasses the spiritual and the musical part of it. So I'd say my friend Nancy said that some people come into the worship ministry with the knowledge of what they are doing, and that made me think back. When we speak about the worship ministry in Kenya, we have really categorized it to be about musicality.
Yeah.
If you can sing well, then you are welcomed pretty in every worship service because you can sing well. But when we come to understanding what worship is, it is really service to the only one true God. So you cannot worship a person that you do not know. You cannot worship a person that you do not have a relationship with.
Yeah.
So I'd say for me, for worship ministers, they need first to understand the person that they are serving.
Yeah.
When you understand the person that you're serving, now you understand the requirements that that person needs for you to be called a musical minister in the worship ministry. So I'd say when a minister comes, Director Derek told us about those people who are hopping from one church to the other, which is very much evident in a lot of churches.
Yeah.
Because as much as we are ministering, people are looking for greener pastures, and they have leaned into the worship ministry, like they are using their skills, so they are using that as the terminologies of I'm serving, I'm giving out my services, you need to pay me back. And they actually quoting scriptures, what the Levites were doing, that the scriptures say that the Levites should eat on the altar.
Yeah.
And so when the worship minister comes into a church and they find a lot of ups and downs, most of us do not know how to handle them because we do not handle these things from the scripture. We handle them from our own knowledge and our own expectations from maybe the churches that we are serving in. So Brother Derek spoke about patience.
Yeah.
You cannot have patience if you do not know who you are serving.
Yeah.
So I'd say also for a worship minister, it is very key to be a born again, a saved, a person who understands what salvation is. Because if you understand what salvation is, now you'll understand the requirements of the ministry that you are getting into.
Okay. So Minister Morris is emphasizing, first of all, know who you are serving. And again, the second time, know the requirements that you're needed as you serve. Nancy, I've come in as a worship minister in church. I have children. I've left my work maybe, to give God the best. But I come here, things are not going the way I expected. How do you go about it?
First, the fact that you have left some of your issues, maybe your family, your children, and have come to serve, that shows that you have that love for God.
Yeah.
But now, the giant in the house is here. What is your relationship with this God that you have come to serve? The other day I was praying and I was telling God, I do not want to only be found in your house or on the altar. I want to be found in your presence.
Yeah.
So, when you come into worship, are you in the presence of God or you are just at the altar?
Okay.
You can be at the altar. You can sing very well. You can worship very well. But are you in the presence of God? Because I think some of the worship ministers we have in the Kenya churches, yes, they are in the ministry. They are on the altar serving, but they are doing it to be recognized. They are doing it for faith. It is not for God. So that person can sing so perfectly. They can lead in worship, and you feel, yes, the presence of God is here. But what is your relationship with that God? Because it will be it will be too bad for you if you will leave your job, leave your children, leave your business, leave everything out there, come to worship, yet you do not have a relationship with this God. You do not have that relationship with God that makes him accept your worship. The other day, Director Luis was asking us, you are singing very well as a worship minister, as a worship minister, but does God know your voice?
Yeah.
When God is on the throne and the angels are ministering and they are like there is this Nancy is worshiping, and have you have heard that song? It's full of your praises, and then God will be like, who is that?
Yeah.
Who is Nancy?
Yeah.
Does God know you? Does he know your voice? That is a very profound question that you should ask you before you get to the pulpit and worship.
Yeah. Director,
Yes.
as a worship minister, I've come in and there are things that I'm supposed to know, and I have my own life. Where do we start?
Just to add to what they are saying,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to read. I'm going to read a verse.
Okay.
The book of Matthew 16:24. I love the Amplified Version. This is what it says. Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone wishes to follow, wishes to follow me. I was looking at a certain meme. The guy was really emphasizing on these words. The power belongs to the people and shall. The may part. So on the verse, they says, if anyone wishes, so it's a willing thing,
Yeah.
wishes to follow me as my disciple, he must deny himself, meaning he must set aside self-interest, okay, and take up his cross and express a willingness to endure whatever may come, okay, and follow me, believe in me, conform to my example in living and, if need be, suffering or perhaps dying because of faith in me. Okay? So if anyone wishes. So for this ministry, when you come in and you're saying that things are not working the way you are expecting, so we are not coming, this ministry is not about your expectation. It's about what Jesus is expecting. He's saying, if you wish to follow me, my expectations are simple. Deny yourself. Let down self-interest. When we stand on the pulpit and say, we are casting our crowns, what are we really saying? You get? If anyone wishes to become, to be a disciple. To be a disciple meaning you are actually executing the kingdom of God on his behalf, meaning you are worshiping God. And so therefore, you have to deny, you have to let go of self. And the other thing is saying, take up your cross. Yeah, be willing to follow me and do anything, whatever may come. You have to be ready for it. Waswahili wanasema ukiyavulia nguo utayaoga, si ndio?
Yeah.
So it means when trouble comes, don't say this is not what I was expecting. What were you expecting? Because the Bible says, actually, you can actually die. You will suffer. Because if you want to live like Jesus, what did Jesus do? He was rejected, he was beaten, he was abused, he was falsely accused. He lacked a place to stay. Sometimes he could run away from people. And at the end of the day, he died. So then, if you are choosing to come to this side of the kingdom and you are expecting good life, then you are in the wrong kingdom. E kingdom haina good life. Kama life, if life was good, then we wouldn't be living by faith. Because faith, the definition of faith is there. So what I'm saying is, when you come, put away your expectations.
Yeah.
Because it's not about you, it's about the kingdom. It's about the expectation, because it's God who sets the standard. Worship is his food. So he's the one who dictates what is needed and how is our role in the worship ministry is to just respond, not to set demands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So when you're coming in, kindly let go of your expectations. The things that you have in your mind, utahatbrekiwa vibaya sana. So just let go of the expectations. And now I want us to look it from a point of the pastors. Now, pastors, most of them, there's those who open up doors for worship ministers, and some of them, have gone to an extent of, if they are to invite ministers around, they have been hurt before. Now, as a pastor, what do you think the challenges they have with the worship ministers? Nancy, you can start us off.
The problem I have seen with between pastors and worship ministers is pride.
Okay.
There are pastors that feel I have given you a pulpit. You are now being known. You are becoming a celeb now.
Yeah.
So they feel like you should worship them. There are also worship ministers who are so proud to a point that they feel like whenever they are ministering, they are doing it for the pastor. The pastor is benefiting. So they feel like, were it not for me, this team or this church could not be here. So I tend to think the pastors are being hurt more by the worship ministers, more than the worship ministers being hurt by the pastors, because they open doors for different people. Someone is a worship minister, they come, they sing well, you feel, this is a son or this is a daughter in the kingdom. You open doors for them, but they end up messing up everything. Others, we have witnessed others even walking out of the church and going even with some congregants and opening their own churches. So I think the biggest problem we are facing right now is pride. It is a pride. Worship ministers, we tend to have a lot of pride. We tend to have a lot of pride, and we tend to feel like, I can sing, I have the skill, there's nothing you can tell me. So there's a time even you'll find that worship ministers are on the altar ministering, but immediately after the worship session, you will look for them where they sit and you will find none.
Yeah.
You will start seeing them again when they are needed at the altar. Maybe they are just outside, just doing their own things.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of pride, and we feel like this is the only thing that has brought us to the church, singing. We have no business listening to the word. We have no business praying. We have no business doing anything else in the church apart from singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. From the pastor's side, actually, I can relate. There's a pastor, I don't want to quote, but when he does give platforms to many people, but he likes saying, akikohoa unaitika. So whichever way that he wants, you'll just have to go that way. Any other challenge that the pastors and the worship ministers are facing?
As for me, I'd say there are two problems.
Yeah.
And I'd refer them to two groups of worship ministers. We have the worship ministers who only minister in the local church. They don't have any invitations from outside. So there are those worship ministers who serve just in that church.
Yeah.
Then there are the worship ministers that the pastors bring in to serve.
Yeah.
So I'd say the way Minister Nancy said, most of the time is pride. And there's a level of elevation that God gives you that you start forgetting the assignment that you have as a worship minister.
Yeah.
So I'd look it in a way that the conflict between pastors and worship ministers is their expectations.
Yeah.
Because if you've welcomed me to minister into a church, I think the main goal, the main reason you welcomed me is for the glory of God to be seen, not for me to serve you. And the same way goes to the worship ministers. You should understand that the reason you are called in this platform is for you to evangelize through your ministry, not for you to be seen, not for you to sell your trademark, not for you to market your own brand. Like our director said, finya hiyo like, subscribe, utanipata YouTube, and yet you are on a foreign altar and you're already introducing your YouTube channels. So I think the problem between these two parties is the expectations. If the expectation is not God, then there will always be conflicts between the two parts. I also say something about the money, the remunerations.
Yeah.
I've been with very renowned music ministers in Kenya, and we have ministered with them. Then the aftermath is they are even exchanging very abusive words with the pastors. Why? Because we had agreed my remuneration is 30,000, but now I'm done ministering and you're giving me 25,000. I'm telling you, usinibebe ufala bwana. Sijaokoka ujinga. You see? So unapata wokovu si ujinga.
Yeah.
You get.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of heated exchange of messages, and you find that person came to the altar as business, not God.
Yeah.
And so I'd say those two things, pride and then the financial part of it.
Okay. So my producer is telling me that we are going to take a short break. Money is very broad, and as we come back, director is going to take us through the money part and also the expectations that we have. We'll be right back.